I'd like to reconvene the meeting for the St. Mary's County Board of Education for Wednesday, March 25th, 2020, and we will begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so in light of clearly all of the CDC guidelines, we have altered our board meeting setting for today. We do have Mr. Davis conferenced in by Zoom. Everyone will be presenting that way. And we are all spread out with our hand sanitizer and Lysol wipes. So with that, since we're going to suspend board reports for this meeting, schools closed on the Monday after our last meeting, so there was very little to report on our activities. So we will just go directly into the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you very much. A lot of things have obviously been going on while schools have been closed. We're going to have an information update today about the ability that we've been providing food service for our students at 4 sites, and that really has been the majority of the forward-facing work of the school system for the last 2 weeks. While all of that has been going on, maintenance and operations have been working within our schools to do a very thorough cleaning of all of our facilities and a very thorough sanitizing of all of our facilities. Our facilities have been closed to the public and have been limited as far as people in and out. We look for the announcement to be made today from the Maryland State Department of Education and the Governor's Office as to what to expect as we close this week and start the next. As of right now, we've received no other word than schools are closed until Monday, and 10 and 11-month staff were not to report, as these days may have to be made up. So we've been treating it very similar to emergency inclement weather snow days. So our 12-month staff has been reporting with options for liberal leave, meaning if they have any leave on the books, sick leave, annual leave, personal leave, acquired hours, workers, whatever they have, they can take leave. Or if their job affords them, they can telework, or they can work with their supervisor to flexibly schedule their time to minimize their exposure to any other people within the buildings. We know that that's a very stressful thing. We know that it's a very personal decision that everyone has to make, and we've been working as actively as we can with our employees on that. Following whatever announcement happens today, we will then go back to and provide guidance to our 10, 11, and 12-month staff. We will also then be putting out press releases and information to all of our parents and students, as they, I'm sure, are quite eager to find out what comes next. The only other thing that we've been in constant communication, daily communication with the Emergency Operations Center, both at the county level as well as communicating with representatives at the state level. All of our deputy superintendents have been talking to other deputy superintendents. Our assistant superintendent of supporting services has been talking to other assistant superintendents. Our assistant superintendent of finance, our CFO Tammy, has been talking to other. Ms. McCord has been talking to other CFO. We've all been communicating with one another as we look to what comes next. So I would anticipate a flurry of communication to come forward once we have concrete direction from the Maryland State Department of Education and the state. We just learned that the governor was originally thought to have a press conference at 11 today. It has been pushed until 7 p.m. I was anticipating a phone conference with the state superintendent at 2. I would imagine that might be rescheduled as well. Everybody just has to be patient and understand that we are responding to the decisions made at a level higher than our own. And we're going to do the very best that we can for first our staff, our responding staff, and then second, our students and all the people that we're responsible for. The only other update that I have is the county commissioners did indeed hold a budget work session yesterday. They did it very similar to the fashion in which we are holding our session today. 4 of the 5 commissioners were present, and the county administrator sat off to the side, and each representative person presented their budget. The school system was the last representative to be brought in to discuss their budget. There was a long conversation about a host of things. We have requested over $7 million. We have talked about the fact that perhaps for $5 million we can get the majority of the things done that we need to get done for our staff. After about 35 minutes, we walked away with an allocation of $3.7 million in additional funding. We're going to have a negotiated agreement that comes before you. It was negotiated in good faith. It is absolutely what our employees deserve. I hope that you will take our guidance and approve it. But our budget is not settled. We still will need more money. And if we don't receive additional allocations of funds from the county government, we're going to have to go back into our budget and discontinue doing some of the things that we have been doing. We're going to have to take a long, hard look at recurring costs and instructional programs to pare down minimally $1.3 million worth of our operating expense. It is a real challenge. I was certainly very frustrated yesterday. I'm as frustrated today. I think that in these very troubled times, the one thing that we need to be able to tell our people and our students is that we are committed to them completely and for the years to come. So let's leave budget aside for the conversation today. Let's continue with that. Anybody wishing to watch that particular exchange, it is certainly posted on their YouTube site, as well as all of the materials are for where our money, the county's money, is being spent and who is receiving compensation, additional compensation, and who may not. So that's where we stand with everything, and I'm gonna conclude because I want to get to really great news and have Dr. Walker present the where we ended up with a negotiated agreement, and then afterwards talk about the technology platforms that we're taking a look at, because if we do have an extended closure of school, and we do have to make concrete plans for it. We're going to have to ramp up our technology infrastructure on the back end and some of the programs, and that's going to be talked about with Power School. And then the last 2 information items really talk about what our current staff is doing. So with that, I'm going to conclude my remarks. Please know that there's going to be a flurry of communication as soon as we get concrete guidance from the state and from Maryland State Department of Education. So thank you for the time.
I do have a couple of things to add on. Number one, thank you, Dr. Smith, for the call out to everyone after the Commonwealth of Virginia closed their schools earlier this week. There was a lot of, I think, concern and worry that, that we were holding back. I think that was a very well-received message, and I think it was absolutely necessary. So thank you for at least, bringing some levity to the situation at that point. And then regarding yesterday, I don't know how many people watched the commissioner's budget work session in the afternoon, but for anyone who didn't, your superintendent did a fantastic job advocating for what we need for the school system for the upcoming fiscal year. I've sat there in budget sessions since I came into office in 2014. And I've watched the back and forth between the county commissioners and various department heads, and it seems like the Board of Education always receives a lot of scrutiny. We always have the answers. It's not always the case with several of the departments that come forward to them. And the back and forth about projects that haven't been funded and haven't been completed is, you know, the heat that we take for our budget and the money that we ask for is unparalleled with a lot of other sectors of this county. And it's a shame. And in a time when we need consistency for our students and families going forward, now faced with the fact that we are going to have to cut programs, which we will have to do if we stick with this $3.7 million, is just very concerning. There was one statement that was made yesterday that they implemented tax increases last year in order to fund our budget. From my understanding and from looking at their audited financial statements, they brought in over $22 million in revenue from those tax increases. Our increase to our budget last year was $2.2 million. Okay, so that tax increase, I don't know where the other $22 million went, but it did not come directly to the school system. And secondly, if anyone looks at their audited financial statements, they ended up with a $9 million fund balance at the end of last year. So all of this discussion that we have back and forth over $1 million or $800,000 or $400,000 or whatever the number is that they are coming up with on a spreadsheet on that date and time during a work session, when it all comes out at the end, when they end their fiscal year on 6/30, they're always over. Every single year since I've sat in this chair. So those are my thoughts. Scott, you did a fantastic job. You know, once again, we're always put last. So we always kind of get the scraps of what's left at the end of the budget cycle. You did reference all of the increases to the county employees, the corrections officers in the sheriff's department, and it just, you know, and once again, we're kind of left at the end.
I just received a message, our audio is not working for anyone who's trying to watch a live stream.
Okay.
Can we take a quick break and let's get that squared away?
I'm gonna gavel out.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kristen tried to call me and I
There isn't any audio.
off, and so she texted and said there's no audio.
I did send him a text.
Thanks.
You're good? Okay, gaveling back in. If anyone wants to watch the great speeches that Scott and I gave, please look at the YouTube video when it goes back up.
Right. It was our understanding that we recorded everything that we just
Right.
went through. For some reason, the audio didn't show up on the streaming feed.
Right.
So we're assuming that the audio has been fixed on the streaming feed, and that if it wasn't, somebody would tell us. In the meantime, we could just kind of.
Okay, we will continue on with the agenda. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. And our first action item is Dr. Walker with the contract approval for the negotiated agreement.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to present remotely. Considering the circumstances, I think this is working well. So today I'm presenting the I'm seeking your approval of the negotiated agreements between the Board of Education and the Education Association of St. Mary's County Certificated Group and their education support professionals. Please, we can go to the next slide. Thanks. So I'm pleased to say that we have agreed to another 4-year contract with each group that provides stability for the system, the ability to plan ahead from a budgetary perspective, and meaningful benefits and enhancements for our employees. Next slide. So just to give you a little bit of background in terms of the timeline, we began in November of 2019 as per direction in the negotiated agreement. We negotiated approximately once a week through the winter break. Then in January, we started meeting approximately twice a week through completion. On February 13th, we reached tentative agreement on 4-year contracts with both groups. March 2nd, the EASMIC ratification process began. It didn't go as planned, how about that, because of the virus and the community situation. However, they regrouped and did an online ratification that ended yesterday, and last evening we were notified that both groups of employees, EASMIC certificated and EASMIC ESP, have overwhelmingly ratified these contracts. I think the EASMIC number was over 99% yes, and the ESP group was above 98% approving of the contract. So now that each of the association has had ratification complete and approved, we can come to you today to seek your approval. And if you do approve, then we'll sign and move on. So the next slide should be negotiating teams.
Hey, so Dr. Walker, I'm gonna have to interrupt you. That was a fantastic start. I think we're gonna have to, the audio stream for the live feed is broken.
Oh, okay.
Right?
When they to reset it, we have to actually reset it at the Forest Center, which is where we broadcast from.
Okay.
So what we need to do is gavel out, go for a 15-minute recess, let them reset the streaming video. We do have a record. All this is recorded, so we haven't lost anything. But if we set it, come back, we'll start right at the top of this and let Dr. Walker then begin
Okay.
with that. So with that,
All right.